Hola, mi gente. So this Hispanic Heritage Month, we are spotlighting the leaders who are redefining what it means not only to lead, but to succeed authentically. From boardrooms to stages, these are trailblazers who are proving that our heritage isn't just part of our story. It is our superpower. And I am joined by a woman. I was just telling her before we started recording that she is an expander for me. She expands the vision of what is possible. She has turned her 100 Days Without Fear into a global movement. Speaker, entrepreneur, a woman I am privileged to call a friend, and who is about to give birth to her second baby. So I'm so glad Michelle Poller is joining us for this series today. Michelle, gracias por unirte, gracias por estar aquí, especially, very important days, these couple of days for you. So I appreciate the time.
Of course, I'm so happy to be here. Gracias.
Por supuesto. So you've built a movement around facing fears. How do you think your Latino heritage shaped your approach to leadership as you now lead a team and lead this community of people that follow you?
Well, I think a lot of different aspects, but one that differentiates us is our warmth. Bringing our warmth into absolutely everything we do, our human side, our humanness. I don't know if that's even a word, but like treat absolutely everyone and everything as a person that we care about, so we give it our all, our team, our community, our followers, our clients. Absolutely. I think that Latin people is very warm, very close to each other. Even if you don't know someone, you can become friends immediately. And just the fact that we say hello with a kiss, that's very like us. It's just bringing that warmth into every environment, into every other culture that we get to interact with. And I think that makes us people that other people want to hang out with, that want to do business with, that trust also. So it's about, being more open to bringing that Latino side into everything we do.
I love that you mentioned warmth. And I think that as we're headed into an age of AI and algorithms and everything is just automatizado, I think that warmth and closeness, you mentioned the word trust, which I think is really critical here, is what's going to make people want to work with you, want to trust you with their information. And what I love about your brand is that, the second you even open up your Instagram, the second that, you see kind of your smile, the colors that you use, that really, really comes across. So it's evident in the way that you lead. You also coach a ton of Latino professionals. What would you say you see them struggling with the most in corporate spaces? And how do you help them get through these obstacles?
I think one of the biggest challenges is that we want to fit in as society in general. We want to be liked by other people. We want to resonate, we want to be in a sense one more. And so when we come from a different country, that is a huge struggle and something that we question constantly. So we're always asking ourselves, how can I be more like Bob or Mary or whoever, and I went through that myself as a keynote speaker. I was in front of this huge audiences, but I would see another speaker go, before me, and she would speak perfect English, answer the questions in a way that I just can't. I am constantly translating here as I'm speaking right now. I'm constantly translating what my mind is telling me and how I want to express it in English. So it's a little bit harder. And so it's inevitable to compare ourselves to other people, but truly what will help us own who we really are is stop comparing and start contrasting. And it is to start seeing the beauty in the difference, in what we bring that is unique. And if we get to own that, understanding that this is different and we're taking a risk, but this risk is what will make us memorable and will make us stand out and will make our opinion different and people want that, that there's a lot of value in that. For example, they decided to start all my conferences dancing reggaeton. So I start with Daddy Yankee, dancing all out. I love that. That's part of my culture. That's part of my personality also. And so the first time I decided I was going to do that, I was very insecure and
Of
I was
course.
questioning myself, like, should I do this? Is this crazy? And then somebody told me, go and disrupt. That's what people need. If you are one more, then they will forget you. They will not pay attention. You want attention. You want people to remember you from the get-go. Start owning who you are. And if this is the way, then go for it. Differentiate yourself intentionally. So that's my advice for anybody in the corporate world.
That's amazing. And it resonates so much with my keynote of authenticity. What makes you different is what makes you special, is what will make you stand out in the marketplace. And I think that there's also a huge toll that you pay when you blend in and you make yourself small, because you don't generate that sense of belonging at your workplace, which is now, more important than ever before, because we're connecting remotely, because we're looking for that sense of belonging somewhere, as people are lonelier and lonelier due to technology and due to changes that we're facing. So when you pretend to be someone else, not only do you not shine and become irreplaceable, as you were just explaining, in contrast, but also you're not going to put forth your best efforts or ideas, because it's just going to make you smaller and smaller, until one day you say, you know what? I don't really love working here. I don't really feel like I belong. I waste so much time putting on this mask that maybe I'm just going to look for a job elsewhere. So the price to pay also for not being authentic is very high. So thank you so much for really giving our professionals the tools to know that whether it's like dancing to reggaeton, or your beautiful accent, or the way you bring your culture to work every day, those are actual ways to stand out and to be more efficient and productive. You've spoken to millions about courage, because it takes courage to face your fears, whether you want to dance on stage in front of thousands of people or speak up in a meeting when your English isn't perfect. What would you tell a young Latino leader who is afraid to take up space in the workplace, in the boardroom, on stage, or here on digital?
I would tell them to own their culture and share it with the world. Like, how can you bring your culture? Like, what if one day you bring tequeños for everybody, or arepas for everybody in the morning, and say, hey, everybody, I want you to try this amazing food where I come from. People would love that. Or when the team is deciding where to go for lunch, just suggest a Venezuelan place, or a Colombian place, wherever you're from. But it's like, bring your culture and make them fall in love with it too, because they will fall in love with you too, because you are exposing something new to them. We are used to the same kind of people, the same behavior, but we all love to travel. We all love to try new things. So what if we bring that culture to wherever we are, and we really own it? Even like the music, you play your music, or you teach something that is very from your own culture. For example, I even do it as a Jewish Latina, that I bring parts of my culture and share it with my community. For example, my Hispanic community, we already have a lot in common, but then I bring some parts of my Jewish history into it and my Jewish traditions, and they love to learn something new. And you know what? It's uncomfortable at the beginning. You're like, who cares about this? Why would I, go above and beyond to do this extra thing that nobody needs, nobody's asking for it? But it makes a huge difference, and it helps people connect with you as a person as well.
Your Jewish Latina heritage is something that you bring forth in your personal brand in just such a graceful way, such a respectful way. And I think that by doing that, even if it's bringing some of your food, like you mentioned, and just celebrating the beautiful and vibrant diversity that exists in our community, you also, I called you an expander in the beginning, like you're expanding people's views of what the Latino community actually is, because we have a very important Latino Jewish community, and you are being a representative of that. So it's also expanding people's vision of this is also who we are, and it makes us beautifully Latino and beautifully diverse. So as you know, for this series, we're partnering with friends of the National American Latino Museum. I'm on the board. We're going to see our museo come to life one day in the not so distant future on the mall in Washington, D.C. It's going to be so beautiful, Michelle. If you were to imagine a museum where you can take little Noah, your son, and your baby girl who's about to be born, as a Jewish Latina, what kind of an exhibit would you want to see there? I mean, you speak about courage, what would showcase Latino courage? What story would you want featured in a museum like that?
Wow, that's a tough question. But if I can dream big, then I would love to see featured all the Latinas that are making it outside of their country and how they came together as a community to help each other. Like those stories, maybe the stories nobody know and the stories, not the big ones that everybody's already used to, or like, I don't know, very famous ones, but maybe like more stories about community and how can we help each other when we're not in our country and we feel so alone, but at the same time, we can feel so empowered when we come together.
That's spot on. When I think about Jewish Latinas that not everybody necessarily knows about, I think about this artist, Gego, from our country, who is spectacular. And she had an exhibit at the Guggenheim Museum. But if I were to ask anybody, like, do you know who Gego is? Maybe they don't know. But she is a Jewish Latina, Venezolana, just like you. So thank you for the inspiration. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions now?
Well, I'm never ready, and being pregnant is not the best time to think sharply, but I'll do my best.
Let's do it, because those are going to be really genuine answers. You don't have to think much. You just have to respond with the first thing that comes to mind. So, what's one Venezuelan tradition that makes you a better leader?
That's a tough question. Let's see. I think we have this tradition where we have to eat 12 grapes in New Year's, right? And that I would say make me a better leader because every time you eat one of those grapes and you have to eat them really fast because like clock is ticking, you have to think of wishes, things you want to see come true in the next year. And that helps me connect with my own desires. So the reason why I do that is not because I'm putting some expectations in the universe, but it's because it helps me, even makes me understand what do I want to accomplish. So it connects me with my goals. And so I think it's really important and everybody should do that exercise, and not only at the end of the year, but anytime throughout the year.
It's a way to manifest,
Right.
except you're stuffing your face with grapes. It's okay. If you see somebody do it at a New Year's Eve party, you know they're Venezuelan.
Yeah.
Finish this sentence for me, Michelle. Being Latina means?
It means you can eat the world and fry it too, like an empanada, and it will taste delicious if you choose to see it that way.
Oh yeah, I love that. Instead of you can have your cake and eat it too, you can eat the world and fry it if you want, like an empanada. Exactly.
It will taste better.
What would you say is a big misconception about who you are as a Latina?
Well, a lot of people assume Latinas are only Mexicans or only like certain cultures and, from a certain upbringing. And that's a huge misconception. For me, Latinas are extremely hard workers. That's who we are. That's one thing that really sets us apart, and you can see it because we really want to accomplish our best selves. We don't settle and we want to make a name for ourselves. So that's a huge misconception people have when they think about us.
Hard workers. I love that because we are. Lo damos todo por el todo. When you think about a future American Latino Museum in Washington, D.C. What is one food item that has to be featured in the cafeteria?
Pequeños. If they don't have pequeños, I'm out.
Explain to our audience what el pequeño is.
Pequeños, people like to describe them as cheese sticks or, right, fried cheese sticks. No, this is much better. It's dough. It's like perfect dough with cheese on the inside, but I don't know. It's just the closest thing to perfection you can experience in your life. And I'm not only saying it myself because I'm Venezuelan. I help other people try this food, like my Canadian friends, my American friends, European friends, and they all agree it is close to perfection.
It's like a mozzarella stick. When
Yeah.
you open it up, you say, I want to build a home here. This is heaven right here. And then you can dip it in different sauces, which is,
The sauces, yes.
ya me dio hambre. Best advice que tu mamá o tu abuelita gave you about success growing up.
The best advice I've received from my mom was to literally never compare myself to anybody because we each have our own journey and you really don't know what anybody else is going through. So it's unfair to set certain expectations and compare yourself with someone that you don't know really their circumstances, their priorities, what they're going through, and their life history. So we always have to make the right choice for ourselves, even if people around us are making different choices.
Yeah, chart your own path. What would you tell your younger self about embracing your accent, your culture? That young Michelle that maybe could have never imagined you were going to be gracing world stages like you are now.
I would tell her, stop trying to pursue perfection and start pursuing your inner self. Like go go inward in a journey where you can discover who you are and then have that courage to bring exactly that out into the world instead of trying to fit in a perfect mold.
So important to go inward instead of outward. And I think that that's not told to us enough as advice. So I appreciate that. That's something that I'm going to apply myself after our conversation. So you do coaching of many Latinos who want to become speakers. I also help them with more executive communication coaching. What would you say is the biggest fear that your Latino clients need to overcome?
Well, I think that right now with ChatGPT, it's really easy to rely on that tool to, help you create your speech. For example, you can tell ChatGPT in Spanish everything you want to say and say, now build a speech for me in English, and that will take away your essence. That is one thing that I started seeing in the last year. And I'm concerned about that. And even I can fall into that trap, trying to make sure that my content, not only like my speeches, but also like my posts and things sound great in English. But when I read it, I don't sound like myself. Yes, it sounds perfect. It sounds very American and, it has that touch. Am I looking for that or am I looking for authenticity? So most times I end up using exactly what I wrote. Maybe I can fix a word or two that were not right, but I try to leave it in my essence. Like when I wrote my book. When I wrote my book, Hello Fears, I wrote my book in English, in my imperfect English. And a lot of people read it, American and Latinos, and they all agree that this is such a friendly book to read and that they can even hear my voice as they're reading. And I'm like, wow, if I would have used ChatGPT or any artificial intelligence tool, this would not sound like me. So I have to be very careful in the era that we're living right now, that we have that tool and it's so easy to use it. We have to be very conscious on how we use it.
And going back to what you said at the beginning, it's this nice full circle moment, this idea of how can we let our humanity shine through? And that's what people will trust. That's what will be magnetic for people. That's what people will gravitate towards. And that's ultimately what you want, and not to have some version of perfection that some artifact wrote out there.
Yeah.
How do you teach your audience to be authentically fearless?
Well, I don't teach them to be fearless just because we will never be fearless. We can be brave. But fearless is it's a really hard word to fulfill because fear will always be there. It's part of the equation. We have to learn how to live with fear. And I feel more pride when I'm being brave, means that I am experiencing the fear and I am confronting it every single day more than fearless. Fearless means I don't feel the fear. And how to do it authentically, how to be brave authentically, then I would say trusting in your own intuition first. That's how I do it in a brave way, like in an authentic way, because we're so used to going outside looking for references and for opinions. And so, what if you start listening to your own opinion and you start seeing yourself as the reference? A lot of people tell me, like, you should study more psychology topics or this, or you should research this person. And I'm always like, you know what? I rather spend my time looking inside and figuring out how I would do things than researching or studying something that has already been done. So it's betting on yourself and, like, I guess, believing that you have what it takes. And you know deep down the answers instead of always trying to find those answers on the outside world.
I love that. That's music to my ears. We're already born as who we are meant to be in this world, but then we are told, like, look outward, look at this person, and then there's a shiny object that distracts you instead of looking for that inner compass and that roadmap that you have inside. Absolutely beautiful. Great advice. Let's switch over to Spanish for the last couple questions. Michelle, entrenas a muchas personas a venderse mejor. Culturalmente, ¿por qué es eso difícil para muchos latinos, para muchos venezolanos? Hasta a mí me pasa. ¿Y cuál es una solución para esa gente que no se sabe vender bien o no se siente cómodo que podemos empezar a aplicar hoy?
Nos enseñaron que mostrarnos, hablar de nosotros, presumir de lo que hacemos bien es un acto egoísta, es como, ¿cómo se dice? Como egocéntrico, es egocéntrico. Y nos dijeron que no está bien visto y que no tenemos que hablar de nosotros, presumir de nosotros, que todos esos logros es algo que los podemos solamente, ¿sabes?, nosotros disfrutar o máximo compartir con nuestros seres más cercanos, pero que si los mostramos al mundo y hacemos mucho ruido alrededor de nosotros, estamos siendo egocéntricos y no estamos siendo humildes. Entonces nos creímos ese cuento por demasiados años y yo vengo a cambiar un poco la narrativa egoístamente. ¿Por qué? Porque yo quiero el valor que otros tienen que ofrecer. Y cada vez que una persona decide no contarme lo increíble que es en esto, lo apasionado que está por esto, ¿sabes? Lo que ha logrado gracias a esto, cada vez que alguien decide no contarme esas cosas de sí mismo para no sonar egocéntrico, para no ser no humilde, yo me estoy perdiendo del talento de esa persona, de poder contar con ella, contratarla, crear algo juntas y me parece injusto. Así que egoístamente vengo a pedirle a la gente que se atreva a hablar de lo que son increíbles, de lo que han logrado, de lo que les apasiona y cómo lo hago cambiando la historia y diciéndoles que es verdad que cuando hablas de ti puedes sonar un poco egocéntrico, pero cuando no hablas de ti suenas egoísta. Entonces, ¿qué prefieres tú? ¿Ser egocéntrico o egoísta? Yo prefiero mostrarle al mundo mis talentos y saber que gracias a eso estoy impactando un gentío que quedarme todo eso de forma egoísta y solo impactar mi propia vida.
Para esa gente que te está escuchando y que les han dicho, bueno, eso, tú si eres hechoneto, o por ejemplo, ¿quién te crees tú? Cuando uno está hablando de sus logros, para tanta gente, porque aquí además, sobre todo en este país, si tú no te vendes, no te van a venir a buscar. Y estamos además compitiendo con un nivel muy alto y con una saturación mediática también importante, donde tenemos que cut through the noise, como dicen en inglés. ¿Qué le dirías a esas personas que otras personas les han dicho, ¿quién te crees tú para estarte vendiendo así?
Bueno, nosotros en la comunidad de Créete lo que estoy liderando, tenemos un término que nos llamamos entre nosotras creídas. Es un término mal visto en toda Latinoamérica, como que es alguien que se cree mejor. Pero como nosotros le dimos la vuelta y lo percibimos, es que nosotros nos creemos nuestro valor.
Mm.
Y eso es el paso número uno para crear cualquier cosa, creer para crear. Entonces, necesito que las personas adopten ese término. Yo soy una creída, yo soy un creído, no porque me creo mejor que nadie, sino porque me creo mi valor. Si empiezas a ver hacia adentro, empiezas a ponerte un espejo y ver lo increíble de lo que tú traes y que hay una audiencia para ti, hay una persona que necesita ese consejo que tú vienes a dar, ese producto que tú quieres crear. Y quizás muchos ya han creado un producto como ese, pero nadie como tú. Y quizás había un mar de personas, así sea una pecera de personas, esperando porque tú les des ese consejo, porque iban a resonar contigo, con tu historia, con tu tono, con tu personalidad y con lo que tú traes.
Así que dejar la pena a un lado y atreverse justamente, no nada más a darle ese regalo al mundo y a los demás, sino también a comunicarlo, que es por eso que quería conectar contigo hoy, Michelle, porque sé que le estamos dando herramientas a nuestras comunidades para que puedan hacer eso. Como estamos en el mes de la herencia hispana, respóndeme rapidito, ¿cuál es una comida que te hace sentir muy, muy latina?
Una comida que me hace sentir muy latina, el plátano.
Ay, qué rico un plátano. ¿Te gusta frito? ¿Te gusta horneado? ¿Cómo te gusta?
Horneado, frito, con queso. Eso sí, tiene que tener queso rallado arriba. Ujú, eso.
Unas tajadas de plátano, lo máximo. Ok, la arepa que más te gusta es.
Queso blanco. Soy sencilla, una tipa
Ah,
sencilla.
eres de las mías, Michelle. Yo también soy sencillita con mi arepa, te lo juro. Queso guayanés
Sí.
y si el plátano de pronto me lo como aparte.
También puede estar adentro el plátano, puede estar adentro.
¿Cuál es tu canción preferida en español? O una que cantas así cuando te estás
Ya,
bañando.
me lo merezco de Elena Rose. O
Ay,
sea,
bella.
todo el día in the back of my mind, playing.
Ay, bellísima. Y esa está buenísima para las creídas, además.
Mira, es que es nuestro himno, me lo merezco.
Ay, me encanta. Bueno, Elena Rose, oficialmente invitada aquí a nuestra próxima conversación. Tu dicho favorito en español, un refrán que te acuerdas o que aplicas en tu vida.
Ay, no sé, soy mala con esto, soy mala, porque yo cambio mucho los refranes, o sea,
O
por
cambias uno,
ejemplo,
cuéntame.
por ejemplo, el que dice no le hagas a otros lo que no te gustaría que te hagan a ti, yo lo cambio hacia haz por otros lo que te gustaría que hagan por ti. Entonces me llama más a la acción.
Bueno, yo me llevo eso de regalo hoy. Gracias, Michelle, por conectarte con nosotros. De verdad que eres un ejemplo a seguir